Once you know, this stuff here makes way more sense. Study the flat earth, people. It's real.
Globers, you don't have any evidence. You really don't. You are children of the Church of NASA. Oh yeah, you did your quote-unquote research. You just watched a bunch of flat earth videos. Well, yeah, I'm not going to look up globe stuff because I already know what I've been taught for the past 50 years. Once you look at the numbers, this is not coincidence that all these... There's too many sixes, bro. Every number that they put out about the size of the earth and the curvature and all the spin and the rotation and all this kind of stuff ends up being some kind of combination of sixes. 6.6, 0.666. It's always 3 sixes together or more. Come on. You think that's coincidence? Don't be silly. Stop drinking that fluoride. It's funny to look back and go, what? I believed that nonsense? I believed we went to the moon 230,000 miles away in that rickety piece of crap tinfoil wrapped duct tape thing. The president called them on the moon on a landline phone, bro. Oh my God. I feel so dumb that I believed that ridiculousness.
So one of the other things that made me question the shape of the earth once I started looking into it was another thing I was taught, that the water stays on the globe as it's spinning 1,000 miles around, or 1,000 miles an hour, is gravity that pulls everything to the center of this big ball. Okay, so when I started seeing these comparisons, like water always finds its level on all these different things, you see these pictures up here that they show. Okay, and I'm going, yeah, it does. It always finds a level. It has to have a container, and it finds a level, except on this big ball that they say we're on. And I go, wait, don't they say the earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour? Wouldn't the water fly off? and then they go, oh no, it's gravity. So everything is held on, including this however many millions, trillions, whatever, gazillions gallons of water from the oceans, which is very heavy, by the way. Water is very dense. So it's held in place, that doesn't drip off the side or run off the side, by gravity that's pulling it to the core. So gravity is strong enough to hold that amount of water onto this globe that's spinning out of control, but it's not so strong that it just flattens us. I don't get it, man. I just don't get it, okay? How do little bumblebees fly around? The gravity doesn't pull them to the ground, but it holds, it's strong enough to hold all this water in place. And not just hold it in place, but it's not too strong as to mess with the waves, right? Supposedly the moon messes with the tides and the waves. Look, bro, the earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour, and it's a ball, and there's all this water on it, and it's not going anywhere. It's very calm in certain places, like on lakes, like you see over here. And then sometimes the ocean is so serene, but gravity is pulling it. Bro.
Forget what you know about the sun, moon, and stars. Let's go. Check this out. The moon will be seen below the horizon. Guys, how do you explain that? How do you explain it? Well, it's because the sun and the moon are not physical balls in outer space. They're actually within a firmament. They are spiritual disc lights created by the Almighty God. Yeah, look at that. It's the moon. Come on, explain that. Explain it. Refraction, reflection. Give me your stuff. Give it. They're more like rainbows. Did you guys see the glitch in the solar eclipse yesterday? Check it out. Look at this. Watch. You're going to see the sun through the moon. And you have to ask yourself, how is it possible? Is that a solar flare? How would you see a solar flare through the moon? And then you have to wonder, have they been telling you the truth about the sun and the moon? How does that make sense, guys? Check this out. There also was a glitch about a half hour later in the New Mexico solar eclipse. But you can see they edited it out. Look at that.
Guys, riddle me this. Does this look like it's 93 million miles away to you? Of course it doesn't, because it's not. Anyone with a grain of common sense can take one look at this photograph and conclude that if there are clouds in front of the sun, then it simply cannot be. Yet we are fed this from cradle to grave and no one questions it. Does your daily experience, do you actually feel like you are on a spinning ball hurtling through space at 67,000 miles per hour with the sun and the planets light years, millions of light years away, they tell us? It's absolute horse shit. Guys, we live under a dome and the sun, the moon and all the planets are underneath the dome. It's a huge lie.
Do you think the Earth is round or flat?
I know we didn't go to the moon.
We didn't go to the moon?
No, we didn't go to the moon.
Why do you say that?
Because you can't get out of the atmosphere.
Really? What do you mean?
Why don't we go look at underwater or past the ice? That's where it's at. They want you to look up. They don't want you to look on our own ground.
Think the Earth is flat?
I don't know.
Fallen angels and asteroids, what do they have in common? Well, let's look. This, if you're anything like I used to be, thought for many, many, many years this was a sign of an old asteroid. But if you think that still, let me just ask you this. If it was an asteroid that came in at an angle, unless it was coming straight down, it wouldn't look like this. It would leave some sort of tail or something different. This is not an asteroid. And if you haven't come across flat Earth yet, I highly recommend you research flat Earth. But you can see a lot of these have been found over the course of thousands of years. And I found the number of them that have been found to be very peculiar. So here's just another example. Does anyone know around how many of these huge craters have been found? Around 200, at least 190. I've researched and there have been 195 found. And you know what that made me think of? It made me think of how many angels came down to earth with Lucifer. Anyone know that number? It was roughly around 200. Kind of coincidental there, right? Maybe we're in Satan's short season, and maybe those fallen angels that were kept in prison underground have already been released. This
About the asteroid Apophis. Its name draws some attention because the cosmic mass was named after the Egyptian god of chaos, ironically also known as the Great Serpent, who, since he was also the enemy of the sun god Ra or light, existed in darkness.
Could we be living in the short season of Satan and tribulation's already happened and the angels have already come up? I think so.
Weird snake up there. It's a weird looking map. Pretty weird looking map. It's the same map. Whatever that stuff is. Looks like that one. That's the one. That's the one. What the hell? There it is. What's that say at the top? What the? It's a damn flat Earth map. What's going on, UN? You guys got something to tell us, or what is it?
The moon produces its own light, and it's not what they tell you it is either. First off, modern science has told us that the moon is actually just a piece of the earth that broke off, like a big rock, and is now orbiting around the earth. And you're about to find out that this is far from the truth. First off, rocks have a very hard time reflecting light. And let me bring it to your attention that the sun and the moon actually appear the same exact size in the sky. It is a common known fact, anyone can look this up. And they really try to tell us that the sun is 400 times larger than the moon. Yet they appear the same size. Something's not adding up here. It makes a lot of sense though, when we look in God's word. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, that's the sun, and the lesser light to rule the night, that's the moon. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. God made two great lights, the sun and the moon, right? He placed them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon earth. The firmament is the glass dome that God created to separate the waters below from the waters above. The sun and the moon move around in a circular type fashion, just like so. Now how do we know that the moon produces its own light? Well, we can look many places in the word. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. But in those days after the tribulation the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. The moon shall not cause her light to shine. So God has made it very clear the moon causes its own light to shine. It's not a reflection. And he made that very clear for a reason, probably because he knew they'd try to deceive us. Now just more evidence that God's word is true. Notice how each time he referred to the moon, he said her. So we know the moon is feminine. Now this makes perfect sense when we realize the moon has 12 full moons every year. Women have about 12 menstrual cycles each year. The moon is the most full 15 days after the start of a new moon. Women are most fertile 14 days or 15 days after the start of a new menstrual cycle. God has made everything perfect. His word is true, it's accurate, and lines up perfectly with everything. Stop listening to what the world tells you and start listening to what God tells you. Does anyone else find it strange that all the other ancient civilizations and religions have the same exact depiction of the universe, which is a flat earth with a firmament dome covering it? And yet NASA tells us that it's a flying, spinning, hurtling water ball with magical curved water. Hold on a minute. What does NASA mean in Hebrew? It means to deceive or to beguile. And what language was the Bible written in? Also Hebrew. And what does the Bible teach? That the earth is flat with God's firmament dome going over top. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. This word beguiled, which means to deceive, translates to NASA, right? Now where did this word beguile come from? It came from the Bible in Genesis, when the serpent beguiled Eve, or deceived her, to eat the forbidden fruit. The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. Now what is a serpent? A serpent is a large snake, a sly or treacherous person, especially one who exploits a position of trust in order to betray it. Someone who exploits a position of trust in order to betray it. NASA has a position of trust. A serpent also means a large snake. Well, why does NASA's logo have a massive snake tongue going through it? Probably because Satan, the serpent, is the one behind NASA, deceiving you, to take you away from the truth about creation, which is that we live under God's firmament dome, and the flat earth. Space is not real.
When people finally wake up to the truth that we do not live on a spinning ball, but rather a non-rotating level plane, and what is above, below and beyond, we still don't know, the first question they ask is, why the lie? Why the lie? So many people have said they believe the lie is because they don't want you to know who you really are, which we know that we are very powerful people. Our mind is very, very powerful. They want to keep resources from you. They want you to believe that unless we go and find other planets, we're going to run out of these resources. They want you to take you away from God, and so on and so forth. However, for me, I've come to the conclusion the biggest lie is because they want you to believe you live in a fictional world. Therefore, your fictional character, which is known as your straw man, will work in that world. So when we look at the word lawful and legal, there's a maxim of law that says he who creates it owns it. They've created a globe. You see, in the natural world, God's world, nature, I say God, whoever that is for you, it could be natural creation, sorts, whoever, but I'm just using God as a reference. You can't patent what is organic. They cannot take away and manipulate what is organic. They can create from it, but they cannot change it. So they cannot change the non-rotating level plane. But they need you to believe in them and not God. They need you to believe in fiction and not reality. So therefore they've created a globe. And on this globe, they control your mind. And on this globe, they register you. You see, they've created corporations. They've created birth certificates. They've registered your birth certificate to these corporations. A corporation is a dead entity. It's fake. It doesn't exist, just like the globe. They've made you believe you are living on a spinning ball on this world that doesn't exist. And they call it a globe. And on the globe, we have globalism. We have global warming. We have globalists. All of it doesn't exist. Global warming doesn't exist. It's all fake. You see, in this fake world, on this globe, we have digital currency. Doesn't exist. They create money from thin air. We have your straw man, which is there to become part of the commerce system, contract system, because you see, you as a person can't do business without your straw man. So they need to create a separate world, a legal world, where you can be your straw man. And in that world, they make you believe that you have to pay taxes. You have to give away your hard-earned money. In that world, they have taken away what God has naturally given you, which is dominion over the earth. They've taken away the land, air and water from you. And because you do not know where you live, you have given it to them. You have given up your right of dominion over what God naturally gave you. It's even in the Bible. And you have decided to live in a fictional world called the globe. And there, they own your mind. You see, in this fictional world, they register. Everything is registered, and you've registered your rights away. The rights that you were given from birth. You've registered your children away. You've registered your car away. They've taken away what is yours. And you are not ready to claim it back, because if you are not ready to realize that you have your own senses, your own eyes, your own feelings which tell you we are not spinning. This is all a lie. Pull back the curtain and realize you live here and you own an equal share of the earth, and they've taken it away from you. In this fictional world, they create currency. They create birth certificates. They create contracts. They create your straw man. They create slavery. They've created slavery because you don't know who you are, because you don't even know where you live. Because he who creates it owns it. And if you truly believe you live on a spinning ball, then you are owned. You are owned because you've not centered yourself to your very own existence, that you are not spinning. Don't forget, in their world, you will own nothing and be happy. They're going to take everything away from you because they think they own you. Do you know why? Because they've made you sign everything over to them with their fake money, mortgages, fraudulent, globalism, fraudulent, global warming, fraudulent, doesn't exist. None of it exists. When are you going to realize none of this exists? It's all man-made. What is natural is nature that cannot be touched. We are so close to collectively waking up. And when people say, well, doesn't matter if the earth is flat or round, actually it's part of your spiritual awakening. Now here is something we should be concentrating on. As per God's law, until someone can bring the Creator into a court of law to provide first-hand testimony, which is cross-examinable, that one person has more authority than another, then logic and reason can only conclude we are all entitled to an equal benefit of the fruits of creation, and we are all equal under the law, and no one is above the law. When I say law, I mean small l, not man-made law. Each of us is gifted with our mind, with our own bodies and our conscience, to allow us to determine what is right from wrong. And hence we can explore this reality as long as we do not cause harm, injury and loss. When you live in their fiction, in their legal world, you lose this. You lose this privilege to use your own mind and determine your own outcome. In the legal fiction, you are a slave. You are bound by legislation, acts and statutes. And you are told you're not allowed to drive on the roads unless you have register your car to a corporation and pay fines that you don't need for profit. Everything is for profit. In the legal world, even your birth certificate has created a for-profit person, which is you. They are making money on you in a world that does not exist, because nature is natural and no one can own it. But in the legal world, the fictional globe, they own you. That's why the globe is so important, because it doesn't exist. You don't exist in their world unless you want to, unless you choose to. When you are ready to wake up and come back to reality, when your parents, your mother or father used to say to you, you live in a fantasy world, come back to reality. Well, guess what? They created that fantasy world for you, and you are living in that world right now. And it is time for you to come back to reality and realize that you are not in their legal fiction. You are not a straw man. You are not a person. You are a living, breathing man or woman with the right to self-determination, and you need to grow up. You need to become an adult and start taking responsibility for your decisions. Because if you don't, you will own nothing and apparently be happy. This period of time is about ascending and disclosure. We are mentally and spiritually ascending, and we need to disclose the lies and corruption to then manifest a new future, a fair and just one, where people begin to build communities rather than societies. But to do that, the first rule of manifestation is to know thyself, know who you truly are, where you truly belong, and know where you truly are going. Now remember, your silence means you are consenting. If you say nothing, that means you are happy to live like this. I'm not. I am not happy to live like this. I want a fair world with no wars, with equal shares of what is originally ours, God-given. This is why I speak up, and this is why it's so important to drop the globe, drop the legal fiction. You are not your birth certificate, you are not the straw man, you are not a court. You are a living, breathing man and woman. Protect yourself, wake up, know where you are and who you are.
The Flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was al-Biruni, and he lived from 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also of the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Eddie Alankar, known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo. I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific Ocean where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional map maker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.